everybody. Welcome to the Writer's Workshop, the Bookend Revision Technique by yours truly, S.A. Crow. It's December 11th currently, and I hope you're having a fantastic weekend. For those of you watching the playback, I will leave this available for the whole month. Then it will go private. If you would like to take this workshop again, I have it for sale in my Buy a Cup of Coffee link below. All right, here we go. Whoop, wrong thing. There we go. All right. So let's get started. Here's a little contents of what we're going to be talking about today. Learn a little bit about me. We'll look at the problem, and then we will look at setting up your doc for revision, and then we'll get you started. Okay, so thank you so much for coming. It's a delight to have you as always. This short workshop will help you find a new way to look at your manuscript, especially for dyslexic members of the community. So a little about me. I am an LGBTQ plus author, full-time caregiver, writing coach, and much more. I currently have the Fire series romance suspense novel series out. The first book being Into the Fire, the second one, The Fire Inside, and soon to be the next one, which will be If the Seas Catch Fire. I also sell planners, workshops, coaching sessions, and some printables, and even more printables next year. All right, so my company is As the Crow Flies, personal coaching for writers. It all success starts with a dream. We work with authors, writers, bloggers, anyone who's looking to extend their craft. And we have a few things to help with that. So, explaining about the technique, what it is, and where you can get it. So, hold on a second. In 2017, I was chasing freelance work on content mills when inspiration for a novel struck me. I wrote over 30,000 words in 40 plus days that summer, and afterward I took a month off to rest my mind because that was a whirlwind of an adventure. And then I dove headfirst into revision and came to a screeching halt. What happened? Well, I went about the revision in the worst possible way, especially for me. I set an unrealistic deadline for myself for publication. I forgot to make sure my goals were SMART, and that's the acronym SMART. I didn't consider the timing of all the important beta read, alpha read, planning that deadline. Then I went about starting my revision from chapter 1 and proceeding in consecutive order. Doing this, I couldn't see what was on the page because the movie of the book in my head was stronger than what was on the page. Needless to say, I had a minor breakdown and walked away from my book. I didn't come back to the manuscript again until January 2018. So, how I found a way to revise my book. When you're a writer, you search for every scrap of advice you can find. You sort through these nuggets until you find what works for you. I kept coming across the concept that you should write the end of the book before you write the beginning, and this idea got in my brain into gear, and an idea for my revision started to form. I came back to my manuscript with a plan. I should focus as much on the end of the book as the beginning. So I developed this book in revision technique that we're going to discuss. I hope you get, first and foremost, I hope you find a new way to look at your work. I hope you're able to see what is actually on the page and not what you meant to put there. Though this technique was designed for first revision of a novel, I hope you find the meaning and purpose in the revision process. The revision process doesn't need to send you into hiding. Instead, it can be a tool that takes your work to the next level. Okay, so any questions about that? Holy crap, you just described what I've gone through. Yeah, especially with dyslexia, sometimes what's in my head does not come down onto paper. And so luckily I have a beautiful developmental editor that helps me out, and she knows these characters really well because she's touched every one of my romance novels. And so she's like, "Oh, Steve would say something like this." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, you're right." Or you should she knows what I meant to say half the time. And so she gets it down on the page for me. Neurodivergent, ADD, and who knows what else is here. I get you. I got another question from Miranda Page. I enjoy revising. It's interesting how I've heard so many writers start at the last chapters. I can't grasp that idea. Well, it's not just the last chapters. So I don't mind the revising phase because, I get to go down some interesting rabbit holes for, research. That's what I leave. I leave my research time for the revision stage because there are things I didn't know I was going to need to research until I started writing the book. Things that you guess you're going to need to research, but you can't necessarily be certain. So, yeah. But we'll explain how this goes in a minute. So you can, of course, get this book on Amazon. Okay, so the problem. Finding a way to revise your manuscript. So either some people have no idea where to start revising, not able to see what's on the page, which was my problem, blocks to the next step. Some people just don't know how to get from one step to another. Putting your project away, like some people head straight into revision and they don't give themselves a break. I highly recommend a break between, because I can draft a project and I could go straight into the revision, but my brain hasn't had a chance to let that book go, the movie that's in my head. And so I'll put that manuscript away and I will pick up the next project or the next project stage. So say I've got another book that just went through read. Okay, well now I need to look at what the reader said and I need to make some changes and I need to set up things to deal with my developmental editor on that. Or say I need to draft the next book I've got in line. And so I, of course, do my writing plan. Is the first thing I plan before the end of the previous year. So that way I know, okay, what's going to get published next year, what things are in what stages, where do they need to go now, and I make a plan giving myself a few breaks and some downtime, and that way I handle the things that are the most important, but I don't go straight from drafting into revision. But not everybody does that. Okay, so how do we solve this problem? Okay, we're going to need 2 steps. Process to take control of your manuscript. Problem 1, find a new way to look at your manuscript. Problem 2, it's a tracking system. Because revisions can get away with you when you're down in a rabbit hole, right? Okay. All right, so if you looked at the workbook, which if you are in the Discord and you go to downloads, your workbook is there. If you are taking this later, after you've paid for it, you would have been sent your workbook. If anyone needs the workbook, let me know. So we'll give everybody a little bit of time to get out their workbook, maybe get it finished printing, or just take a look at it in the download. You don't have to start today, but if you want to, you can. Or you can make notes and sticky notes and things like that. Or pull out your writer's notebook and start a section for this workshop. Let me know when you're ready. Okay, Brandy says she's ready. Give me one more person ready and we will get going. Okay, Miranda's got it. Miranda's ready. Okay, so the first thing you want to do, and I know this sounds tedious. Oh, Rachel's got it. She's ready to go. I know this sounds tedious, but for some people who are already doing Scrivener or YWriter or some of those other ones, your book is already broken up into chapters, right? You can break it up into scenes or chapters. So it's okay. If you do Google Docs, there's a way to do that. If you look in the book, I have descriptions on how to do it if you work in Microsoft Word or if you work in Google Docs to do this as quickly as possible. But what you want to do is divide your manuscript into chapters. So you can do the front matter, all the chapters you have, and then the back matter all have their own document. Okay. Now, the reason I suggest this is because I used to write in Google Docs. And here's the horror story. I don't want this to happen to anyone else because remember that breakdown I had? This was my second breakdown I had with this document. I use Word, each chapter has its file. Yeah, Miranda, that's exactly what I'm talking about. You've got it. Okay. So a lot of us probably do this, but here's this horrible horror story. Okay. So I wrote this book, my first one, all in one document. Yeah, it does sound a little tedious, but here, let me explain. So I wrote it all in one document in Google Docs. Okay. And I did this to share it with my developmental editor. So I went ahead and I shared my big novel document with my editor on Google. We both have Google Drive. I've had Google Drive for a really long time. I've had this Google website, this Google admin for quite some time. So she starts working on the book and I go in and I check, I fix the things she wants me to fix and I check yes on the comments. And then one day I went in there to go work on what she had done and look at her comments and see what I needed to do. And Google said I didn't own the document, that it wasn't mine, and I couldn't access it. I couldn't edit. I couldn't click on any of her comments. I couldn't do anything at all. That sent me into my second breakdown. My document was literally held hostage by Google. I am not alone. This has happened to others. It's usually a result of a really large file that you have shared. Don't know why, but it has happened to a few people. Not too much that they're doing anything really big about it, and not like anybody's really there to help you. I tried everything that was suggested on the internet. I had to keep making copies of the document. I would get to work for so long before it would say, oh, by the way, you don't own this document, and I have to make a new copy. and work from there. And I had numerous copies of my document. So I said, okay, this will never happen again. And so I make sure now that, and I use YWriter, so all of my mine is broken up into chapters already. It's also broken up into scenes, so it's not a problem now. But when I go to put it backed up on my Google Docs, I do each chapter its own document. And one of the ways this is nice is that your editor only has to worry about one chapter at a time. I only have to worry about working in one chapter at a time. It also causes me to focus on one chapter. So the way I kind of see that is what if my reader picked up the book right, had put my book down and now they've picked up my book and this is the chapter they're on. Am I making sure that they know where they are, that they know who's talking, and all of those things? So it helps me be more aware. FYI, I've not had that happen, but I have had a Word document that was transferred to Google Docs lock up and we didn't have a spare. Oh no. Yeah, that's, whew, it can happen, but praying that it doesn't happen to anybody else. So it's easier to work instead of having to scroll down or look at your table of contents and click. I never put it all together again until the end when I'm going to upload it. So that's the first thing you need to do for this revision technique, is to divide your work up into chapters. The second thing is use your trackers and watch your progress. So in the workbook, you will see multiple trackers. One is a planet tracker, and it's where you make your plan. You find out how many chapters you're dealing with, when you want your revision to be done, and things like that. There's even a little place for a quote to keep you motivated. Then you'll find a chapter tracker. And so what I do is I do the last chapter and then the first chapter, and then the second to the last chapter, and then the second chapter. And so it's like you're working your way in to the center of the book. So I'm spending my first chapter I'm going to work on is the last chapter in my book, because it's the last memory of my reader. It's the last thing they read. It is going to give them that lasting memory that hopefully they will buy my next book because of the memory that I gave them. So that's what I focus on. First chapter is the first chapter that I revise is the last chapter. And then the next chapter that I revise is the first chapter, because this is where you hook your reader. I want to spend time there. I want to introduce my character. I want to, introduce the mood, things like that. So have I gotten that right? And then I go to the next to the last chapter and work on that. And then I go to the second chapter. Do you guys get what I'm saying about bookending into the book? You will have another worksheet that's color coding. You can color code characters. You can color code conflict, things like that. I use each chapter as a file for individual chapters. Oh, that's cool. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm waiting for you to type, and I'm here. Today's a strange word. Yes, you can track POV with that tracker, with that color tracker. I usually write my romance in 2 POV. double POV, female lead and male lead. I've got a book that I'm revising next month that has 3 POVs. This is a new one for me. Oops, sorry. Okay. Okay, Miranda says she's never heard of this method. It makes you focus on the one chapter. Yes, that's exactly it. Because of my dyslexia, it's easier for me to focus on one chapter and not everything all at once. Because if I do it in a linear fashion, I still have the movie. Because before I outline the book on paper, I have outlined the book in my head. I've asked all the what ifs in my head. I have played out those characters, and I have played out as many scenes as I can in my head first. And so by the time I sit down to outline, I already have a movie of this book in my head. It's been playing for months, sometimes even years, like the one I wrote in November. So for me, if I sit down in a linear fashion, I don't actually see what's on the page. I see the movie in my head. So if I break it up, I'm focused to go, okay, if I picked up the book right here, does the reader know who's talking? Do they know what head I'm in? Do they know what's the setting? What's the scene? What's the mood? What's my theme here? What are my symbols? Do I have birds working together as in there, or do I have any other symbolic things that equal the theme? Do I have enough description? Am I telling instead of showing? And things like that. So it really causes me to zero in. Okay, so let's see. Let's go over the worksheets again. You've got the Plan It Out worksheet. You've got the color code worksheet, the chapter tracker. And what I like is I just color in the triangle for the chapter. So I write out all my chapters in the Bookend formula, and then I color them in when I'm done. And then you have the word count difference sheet, where you can keep track of what was your chapter word count before you started revision, what is it now after you've done revision. The color page. Okay. Okay, the color page. This page helps you pick a color of text for your story's POV, a character or plot line, theme, anywhere where you're using some kind of mechanism. So it just helps you keep track of what colors you're using. I have a little sticky that I put on my monitor that has a list of my colors. So whenever I'm going through revision, I have yellow for action, blue for dialogue, orange for character development, pink for inner monologue, green for romance, purple for descriptions, and red for miscellaneous. So if there's something I'm tracking, like theme or symbols or something like that, then I may make that red for miscellaneous and make a note. So I keep the same colors for all of mine. So what is your question about POV, Rachel? Oh, awesome. Okay, Miranda. You already do colors for your POV. That's cool. I like the idea of going back and forth because it should remind me of my goal for the plot so I don't get off track, which for me is normal. I can understand that. So, do we have any more questions about any of the tracker sheets and how they work? I was just adding POV could be listed and or color coded. Yes, you can list your POV as a color code like Miranda says she does already. All right. So now that we have made our trackers, we separated our chapters, it's time to revise. So how to see what is actually on the page? Often we've been dreaming, thinking, and planning the book we write for years. We spend time with the characters, get to know them as friends, adversaries. Some of us, I mean me after all, write the book as if we're directing a movie. I envision the characters as if they were on a television screen. This is what I mean when I talk about the movie of the book. This is why it's so important to take the time to step away from your idea of the book and discover what you really wrote down. In this section, we discuss tips and tricks to help you do that. The Bookend revision isolates the chapters and forces you to focus on one chapter at a time to that end. Let's assume your reader is loath to hit the back button. What questions would you have as a reader picking up this book from this page? For example, I found my characters were snuggling on the couch. Because the details weren't clear in the paragraph, I asked myself these questions. Where are they in the house? Are they in the living room or the media room? What time of the day is it? Are they watching the television? What are they watching? And what part of the show are they in? These are questions you'll want to watch for as you reread your chapter. Use the tools your program comes with. I recommend using the Find feature in any program. It's fantastic help. And you can hit Control F with a lot of things. I'm often shocked by how many times I use a given word in my work. This is a great tool for when you have changed a character's name or look down the list of words you want to cut in your writing altogether, like very, look, ly words, go, just, really, perhaps, maybe, quite, amazing, stuff, things, got. These are a few words that you might want to take out of your writing because they're kind of wishy-washy. They don't give you a lot of information. My word is just. I'm getting better at not using it, but I used it a lot in the beginning. I used it like a crazy amount of times. So make a list of words you know you need to look for and add to it as needed when others crop up. Find each word one at a time, read the sentence, and revise it to say what you want to say without it. Also, use a grammar check like Hemingway app or ProWriteAid. You can copy your chapters in there and get a better job after you've done some research. So any questions about how to look on the page? Do you guys have a list of words that you find yourself using frequently that you have to cut? Is that the word you use frequently, or is that the dang it? Now I need to find out a list of words. Both. Oh my. Oh, yeah, behavior actions, yeah. Yeah, shrugging shoulders, things like that. Yeah. Uh, I have a lot of gazes. I'm like, they don't need to gaze that frequently. um, so maybe looking into your body behaviors that you use, your body language, and maybe try to vary that up a little. I love Pro Writing Aid's different sections that they help me go through and go, oh, I have a lot in there, don't I? Or the echoes where I say something too frequently in the chapter, and I'm like, oh, I didn't need that frequently. There's got to be another way I can express that. So those are lovely tools to have on hand. All right, so we've made it. You can print out your trackers, make a plan to get started on your next revision, and yeah, dust off your sparkly red shoes and step onto the yellow brick road that is revision. You're all set to start your journey. Let your writing buddies know about your journey and let them encourage you. Of course, let us know on the Discord. We'd be happy to encourage you. And of course, your furry writing buddies are also always welcome. Remember to take it one chapter at a time. Take your time with the last chapter when it comes to revising. Do you like revision? Where are things that you made note of and plan to research and insert later? We often find that everyone worries about starting a story, that often we don't consider the ending and just how important it is. After all, it's the last thing your readers will read of your book. I really enjoy two things about this type of revision. One is that I get to see how I ended and started my story at the same time, and I can check themes and symbolism. The other reason is how awesome you feel when you reach the middle sections, realizing that the project is nearing completion. Remember to set up your when you're doing revision, that you're setting it up for readers, not necessarily your editor yet. Don't worry too much about grammar. Fix what you catch, but don't go mad looking. Instead, check story flow, character motivation, plot points, symbolism, themes, and POV. After all, you aren't going to show it to an editor until after your read, right? You may learn that you will need to fix whole sections of your novel after a read. Get in the chair and get to revising. Now you have all the tools to make this revision technique work. The most important part is to get in the chair and make the plan work. After all, you are the driving force behind this engine. And confession time, I didn't truly feel like an author until after I revised my first book. Remember to leave your perfectionism behind. You aren't going to catch everything. It's impossible. This is so important. You're only doing your first revision, and it's for the alpha read or beta read team. With a first draft, all that it has to do is exist. Your first revision only needs to prepare your work for a read team. After your read team finishes, you will be revising again, and that's a whole different animal. And in that revision, you can just hop to the chapters that need work and leave the good ones alone. And let me know how it works for you, please. I would love to hear how this workshop worked out for you. So, and you can send me any comments or anything about this workshop to my email, essaycrow@authoressaycrow.com, to my mailbox, or anywhere you like. In the Discord, on my Facebook, it's all good. And thank you for being here with me. Carrier pigeon it is. All right. Thank you, Brandy. If you would like to buy this workshop for somebody else, you can go to my buymeacupofcoffee.com/essaycrow. If you would like to buy any of my other workshops, they're there available for you as well, which will be going on sale very soon, like the end of this month for New Year, New You. So keep an eye out on that. I will be bugging you with questions. Oh, I love questions. Absolutely love them. I love helping people. It brings me the biggest joy. All right, I am going to end this here. If you would like to continue the discussion today, you can find me in the workshop voice channel. I'm there right now. And if you're watching the replay or bought this workshop, just ask me questions down below in the comments. I love to answer questions. You guys are amazing. So take care, be safe out there, and have a lovely holiday season.